From being accused of taking an IV before UFC 284 to his manager putting out an outrageous tweet, the plot just keeps thickening for Islam Makhachev's cheating scandal, and coach Eugene Behrman has something to say about it. He claims there's something going on there. Believe it or not, the Australian's coach claims to have reliable information that something fishy occurred prior to the champion versus champion fight at UFC 284. And unlike Dan Hooker or former middleweight champion Israel Adesanya, Eugene was wise enough to not jump to conclusions. While talking to the MMA Hour, the 43-year-old casually mentioned how there's nothing exactly wrong with taking an IV to rehydrate before a matchup because, technically speaking, US ADA permits a fighter to take up to 100 milliliters of saline every 12 hours before a fight. So even if Makhachev did use an IV to rehydrate before the blockbuster event at UFC 284, he wasn't exactly breaking the rules or cheating. But whether he took only 100 milliliters is the real question here. What does that even mean? Well, I'm no expert, but last I heard, 100 milliliters of saline is barely a significant enough amount to give a fighter an advantage over their opponent.
For the oncoming lightweight force, Islam Makhachev, as he gets it done by armbar here tonight as a minus.
I mean, what good is 100 milliliters for a tank like Makhachev? Like I just said, it's barely enough to make a difference. But since Coach Eugene has raised the suspicion that Islam might have taken more than 100 milliliters considering he has reliable information, I think there is indeed something fishy going on. Particularly in light of what his manager Ali Abdelaziz tweeted. It doesn't get any more embarrassing than this, to be honest. Ali happens to be one of the most powerful men in the world of MMA. I mean, the guy manages the most dangerous fighters in the world. He's literally in charge of making sure they do everything right and get paid what they're worth. So keeping that in mind, everyone probably takes him as a man who knows every little thing there is to MMA, including what you can and cannot do. What's the point of telling you all this, though? Well, when Islam was being blasted online for cheating at UFC 284, Ali thought it was the best time to intervene and protect his fighter. The founder of Dominance MMA Management took to Twitter and vowed to expose everyone calling Makhachev a cheater in just a week's time. Oh, and he also called them idiots before making an absolute fool of himself.
Makhachev.
Oh, and he committed so hard to the choke and the crank that he lost position.
Apparently, Ali thinks fighters are allowed to take 3 to 4 liters of IV fluids before a fight. Just let that sink in for a second. 100 milliliters is the prescribed limit, and our boy Abdelaziz here thinks shooting 3 to 4 liters of yummy vitamins and electrolytes is cool. Honestly, forget Islam. I'm just curious how many other fighters took more than 100 milliliters after Ali told them it was fine.
So for Makhachev to change levels and try to get the hooker, he has to be very patient, very careful, because Dan, for as fantastic a striker as he is.
And that's exactly what I mean when I say the cheating scandal has deepened, because about an hour or two later, Abdelaziz deleted the tweet. And MMA journalist Ariel Helwani believes he incriminated himself with that tweet. And to be honest, Ariel does have a point here, especially considering how Abdelaziz manages a stable of top UFC fighters. You don't expect someone so familiar with the game to tweet something so outrageous. I wonder what's going to happen though, because let me clarify something here. There's absolutely no way the UFC can test for or figure out how much IV Islam took.
Impressive. 5 is definitely more impressive, and he'll start making some ambitious call-outs.
But as far as the Dagestani's legitimacy as a champion goes, I think it definitely took a hit. No one's talking about his performance or his win right now. All people care about is finding out whether he cheated or not. And Abdelaziz's appearance and tweeting something out of this world aggravated matters. But at the same time, Ariel also said that he feels sad since Makhachev clearly isn't getting the credit he deserves for his performance at 284. Fight fans keep saying it was amazing to see Volk battle it out for all 5 rounds, and don't get me wrong, I agree with that.
Over that back foot, now he's okay. There we go, and that pushed him to the single. Great job by Volkanovski, perfect defense.
But want to know what else was amazing? The Dagestani kept him busy for those 5 rounds. Credit to both men for giving us such an intense and entertaining fight, but not everyone is as kind as Helwani. Dan Hooker, for one, thinks Makhachev can't ever win without cheating. Hooker and Volk go a long way back. For starters, they're both coached by Eugene, and I'm guessing that's mainly the reason why Dan is so furious. I mean, he's not holding back one bit. Unlike Eugene, Hooker went nuts and accused Islam of cheating his way to the top of the division. And this might be a bit off topic, but it reminds me of that time someone accused Islam of taking steroids when he was just 10 years old.
Boxing, oh, there it is.
Beautiful little hook, right into the double leg takedown. Now he's got Dan Hooker on his back.
There's absolutely no proof he's cheated, so blasting him like that is a bit uncalled for if you ask me, but yeah, it doesn't end there. The Hangman also went on to call him a cheating dog. Since it was very shady of him to come to Australia thinking no one would find out, he took an IV after secretly hiring a nurse. Honestly, it's cool that USADA lets fighters take 100 milliliters of an IV after a weight cut, but there needs to be some major rule changes. For starters, fighters should only be allowed to get an IV under supervision, not a regular nurse, someone from the UFC or USADA. But as the cheating scandal deepens, Makhachev and Rizwan Magomedov have both hit back at Dan for his baseless accusations. Let's start off with what Islam has to say. When you're a UFC champion, responding to everything isn't exactly the best idea. You've got to keep a distinct aura that separates you from the rest of the roster.
We saw the referee here, Daniel Mulvahedi, have a very quick trigger earlier with Vina Janjidoba and Amanda Hebos on the ground.
And in the midst of all these cheating accusations, I think Islam is trying to do exactly that. Instead of responding to everyone calling him out for cheating, he's issued just one statement. I might add that this is an extremely dangerous sounding statement. Hooker, according to the Dagestani, must be held accountable for such accusations. Rizwan Magomedov also came out in defense of the lightweight champion and called the Hangman nothing but a jealous loser spreading lies. Rizwan said that Dan is only doing this because he's salty and wants attention, or he placed a larger wager on the Aussie. It could be any of these. But yeah, I don't see these allegations dying down anytime soon, even after seeing a lot of people stand up for the Dagestani. Because whether he likes it or not, it's something he'll have to live with now. You can't sweep something like this under the rug. This fight will always be with Islam. He'll never be able to get out of the drama without a rematch, because half the world clearly thinks it was a robbery in broad daylight, since Alexander was clearly the better fighter. And I don't mean fans when I say half the fighting world. I mean guys like Joe Rogan and Nate Diaz. Plus, while half of the fight world thinks it was a robbery, now he's facing another group of critics calling him out for cheating before the fight. So I don't think it's what he was expecting. He probably thought the fight world would celebrate his win and dominance, but it's turning out to be the exact opposite. My take on the whole matter? The UFC will need to schedule a rematch. There's no other way to move past this. That's the latest on Makhachev's cheating scandal.